Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Disrupt Your Now. My guest tonight is Jeff Moore. Jeff is the master at building lifetime relationships. He is so great at not only really getting to know people, but asking the right questions, knowing how to match people up together, and just making things work so that everybody wins. So, Jeff, wait, sorry. He is the director of a global protein group, right? A
Yes.
division of a multi-billion-dollar food distributor. So Jeff, introduce yourself and tell us about your background, and then we'll get into it.
Sure. So professionally, I am the director of seafood and business development for a company called Global Protein Group. We are probably mid hundred millions, and we really don't count top line just because that's just not the way we do it here. Um, of a multi-billion-dollar company called and Porky Products, and you can see in the video right behind me, there's this little pig back there. Yeah, Porky Products has been around since 1958, so it's been around for a while. And we're out here. We're part of a $1 billion division of a division. We're a division of a division that's doing over $1 billion a year out here with Porky Trading and Global Protein Group, who I work for, is a friend of mine who I've known for over 30 years. And he started this company 10 years ago, and we're doing quite well. And and we seem to even last throughout the COVID pretty well. All that uncertainty, but we seem to do despite it all, as we say around here. From me growing up, I'm Orange County, California, fourth generation food service, really, like in the food and beverage business. And so I grew up in this world of ours, in the food and beverage business, and have always been involved in the food service side, and it's selling. I started selling at a very early age. I think it was selling candles to my dad when I was in third grade or whatever, and
like the school candle sales.
Yeah, the school candle sale. And so I had the panel out in front of me, and I was trying to show him the different candles. He's like, nope. He goes, set it in your lap, and he goes, pull the panel up. I go, well, everything's upside down. And he goes, you want to be a great salesperson, you got to learn how to read upside down. And so
that's so cool.
Yeah,
Jeff.
so that was like third grade, and back in like seventh grade, I went to work selling door-to-door lawn aeration for a guy that was in 10th grade at the time, an entrepreneur that was making or 11th grade, making about 10 grand a month during the summer. Back when 10 grand a month was real money, in the late 70s. And that guy ended up being a multimillionaire. But back in seventh and eighth grade, making a few $100s a week selling, which was a lot of money back then, and just always been in sales and studying what great sales techniques. But then also really resonated with me is the development and connection of lifetime relationships. And so I've just spent a lot of time in study with mentors, and I've had the opportunity to meet many people that I admire, and people that have been kind of that 1 degree of separation kind of mentor, digital mentor, if you will. Met those people and have been friends, and actually helped advise for them over the years, and which has been fantastic. And I've just got a pretty healthy network of people that are in the marketing and sales and business development and personal development space. So I've always been in sales, and then between 1999 and 2016, I was president of my family's seafood company. It was called International Pacific Seafoods, and back in 2009, we started a direct-to-consumer business called Wild Thing Seafood. That was it was so fun. so fun. And it was like recess to me because I got to do everything I knew how to do to create desire and long lasting customer relationships and things. And so that's been, my career is really, I've been very fortunate to have long term relationships with customers like Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
I've been selling Cheesecake Factory since 1999. So,
Wow.
to have that kind of, depth. BJ's restaurants, BJ's Brew House, I've been selling since the early 90s. So it's relationships that go back almost generations of executives in these places, and just had really, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so I've had these relationships and been very fortunate to build and develop these relationships. And then back in 2010, I was really, looking to upgrade my game, if you will, and started a little group. I didn't know what it was going to be. It was going to end up being, but it was a little group where we would study and collaborate together, and it was called Thursday Night Boardroom. And so Thursday Night Boardroom is now what we know as a mastermind, a true mastermind. Global mastermind. We have over 850 members from 27 countries, and we meet once a month, via Zoom, or maybe even StreamYard now. Who knows? But that's been just a fantastic journey, and relationships that have been built there. It's one of those things where I'm just a very fortunate person. I'm a husband and father of 4 fantastic adult children, and I just a guy that continues every day to see examples of greatness, have an opportunity to work with people that help hone my perspective and create stronger relationships for the people that I serve. So I don't know if that's anything.
Well, that's great. I love the fact that you have those long-term relationships, and that you can name the type of companies so that people realize it isn't just some person down the street. I've owned my business since '96, web development and business strategy. And I actually have a government office in Florida, which is where I started the company. I'm in Virginia now, that I've had as a client since 1997, which is forever. And I don't get to do the kind of work that I love, the strategy and everything, because they just need more technical stuff and everything. But the fact that they're even still a client is amazing. But it's because they can get me when they really need something.
Yeah. I think 1997 is actually a pivotal year. I think that online marketing really, in its modern sense, began from what I have seen and studied in 1997, when a friend of mine, Dean Jackson, who's a mentor and a friend of mine, created the squeeze page back in 1997. Yeah. So, I thought that really changed the game, because it's something that we still use to this day. Enter your name and email to get this, right?
Yeah, it did. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I started one of the first online subscription-based businesses that wasn't an ISP or something like that.
Oh, wow.
It was an information-based product for marine professionals like boat surveyors and brokers and stuff. And I took these volumes of print books and converted them into PDFs. And so instead of them having to wait every couple of years to get the next volume, the owner could constantly add boats. And so people could subscribe monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And for the armchair person who is just like sitting around drinking wine and wants to dream of a boat, instead of trying to figure out what volume, they could get a 24-hour subscription. So they could just look at as many as they wanted to. And I ended up selling that right before the .com bubble burst.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And probably a lot of the people listening to this probably won't even know what I'm talking about, but I actually developed a Palm Pilot app for it.
Oh my goodness. I was just using that as a joke today. I was using that as a joke today because we were talking about some tech in our huddle meeting today, that somebody was talking about their iPhone, and he said, I have an old iPhone. And I said, well, and somebody said BlackBerry. And I'm like, I'm still using the Palm Pilot. Is there, is there software for that?
That's hilarious. And they probably weren't even old enough to know what it was, were they?
Yeah, there was a lot of courtesy laughs on that one.
Yeah. Well, we're not here to talk about me, so I'm sorry for diverting, but just the fact that we're about the same age, and so, can put in perspective, but the fact that you have large clients like that you've had for over 20 years that's a testament to your relationships. So
I hope so. I mean, and actually, over the years, have you ever asked your customer, has a customer ever told you or a client ever told you why they do business with you for so long?
I like in a roundabout way. I haven't specifically asked them, but they just always say, we know if you tell us something, we can trust you. If you don't know it, you're going to say, I don't know it, but I'll find out. And they know if I say I'm going to do something that I will do it. So trust.
I think her name's Ellie Kim. And when I left what was my old company and came here, and Cheesecake Factory was, I was hoping Cheesecake Factory would follow me here. And they were telling me back in 2018, we're gonna go with you after Q1 of 2019. Mm-hmm. And then they called me in December of 2018 because the people that had bought the company that I used to own with my family just were some bad actors, and they really turned out to be not great people and just really terrible business owners and customer service people. And she called me and she's like, we're going to start with you the beginning of January. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't have any product. She's like, you're going to buy it from them. We're going to tell them, and then you're going to buy it from them. And then we'll, you know who all the suppliers are, because I had all those relationships. Mm-hmm. And she goes, just, they've got product coming already, just divert it. And, so we were talking about it. And then she called me like a couple days later and she goes, we're starting now. And I go, define now. It's like December 14th, December 15th. Mm-hmm. And she goes, now. Like we're talking right now. We're starting now. And I go, I don't have code numbers set up. I don't have that. She goes, stop. She goes, you know why we continue to do business with you? And I was like, because I'm charming? She goes, whatever. She goes, I'm going to tell you, and this is stuck with me. And I want to say that if you've had relationships for longer than a few years, then good, solid relationships where you can articulate the needs, desires, challenges, fears, and aspirations of your customer better than they can of themselves.
Yeah.
I think that this is the reason people do business with us, no matter what they say, but she crystallized it. And she said, we do business with you because you make our problems your problem, not the other way around.
That's awesome.
And I was like, wow. And so not only did that explanation honor me, like I was honored by that, it really crystallized my identity with every one of my customers. And so it could be a little dangerous because you want to make sure you're not, throwing the baby out with the bathwater for your own company. Mm-hmm. But there's ways to monitor and measure that. Yeah. And so that really did hit it for me, mm-hmm. that I make their problems my problem, not the other way around. And truthfully, I do that proactively, mm-hmm. So if I know they're having a problem, or I can guess that they're going to have a problem, I'm always looking to continue to solve it. And it was funny. And if I'm rambling, so just if you want to.
No, this is great.
But Steve Sims came on and went into Thursday Night Boardroom today and said, and I think he just did it on his own personal page. And then as Steve Sims shares into the groups that he's in. But he said somebody connected with him yesterday or 2 days ago now and said, hey, Steve, well, thanks for the connection. How can I help you? Please let me know how I can help you and I'll help you. And he says, it's the worst thing you can do, right? He said, the worst thing you can do. And I remember Steve and I, before COVID, because and he says that we don't get together anymore, but I like to challenge him on that, because anytime I'm in the Valley, I go to his house.
Yeah.
On the way home. He's home, I go by. whether
Yeah,
he's
I
busy or
figured
not
he's
with
full
them
of
by.
it when he said
So
that.
he could talk about me, not seeing him anymore, whatever. But we're true, real friends, and
Yeah,
not just kind of internet friends.
yeah,
And we're having lunch, and we were talking about how people connect and what they try and do. And I said, it might make me sound like a curmudgeon or an a-hole, but the one thing I can't stand is
your
when
sound kind
some
of cut it.
yeah, somebody
Yeah,
tried to
okay,
get through.
that's good. Okay.
Uh, when somebody connects with me or calls me and we connect and says, "How can I help you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "How did you helping me become my burden?"
Mm-hmm.
You
So
know?
he
And
stole
so
that from
that's
you.
yeah, like why do I have to do that? Why don't you tell me? And so that's really been the thing that I work with my customers, with the people. If you come into Thursday Night Boardroom and we're learning something, I'll pause it and turn to you and go, "Lisa, I want you to understand what this means to you."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'll tell
I've
you what
heard
it
you.
means to you.
I've heard you do that, and there's been a couple times that you said it to me, and it really helps because to have somebody reflect something back
Yeah.
to you.
It's the magic mirror, right?
Mhm.
You're not like, you think you're looking through a window, but I'm showing you a mirror, and metaphorically.
Yeah,
Um, but that was kind of a big deal. And so making my customers' problems my problem, proactively
yeah,
solving them,
yeah.
right? So if we're having a challenge with a certain part of a country like China, shut down Dalian China November 15th to January 15th because they had 38 positive cases of COVID in the seafood supply chain.
Wow.
They shut it down for 3 freaking months. November, December, January, was it December, January, to call it 2 months. But
Hmm.
then they did it on January 15th when everybody's getting ready to leave to go celebrate Lunar New Year
Uh-huh.
or Chinese New Year, right? And so it's been shut down for months. Knowing that, I started to look in other origins and to other resources. I already have the business.
Yeah.
Like we're in this together, but I'm looking at ways to expand that supply chain, expand that, the supply coming in to help that customer.
Hmm.
I know customers that I don't even sell certain items to, but I know they're screwed. And
Yeah.
so I'll call them and say, "Hey, how are you doing on your ahi tuna or whatever?" And they're like, "Oh, we're completely hosed." "Oh, well, I've got 80 cases of this product. I can let you have it today."
Oh,
"Oh
no.
my God." And you think, like you hear that and go, "Well, Jeff, that just sounds like you're just pumping your inventory." I don't need to sell that inventory to them.
Yeah.
It's short.
There's
Like
yeah, there's customers everywhere.
they know that it's short and they know that I'm making a sacrifice to, to help I'm going to close this so it doesn't distract me.
Yeah.
Um, the, they know that I'm making a sacrifice
I
to
was
help
gonna
them.
ask you what it was.
Oh, it's just email stuff. It's just
Just
like, actually one of the customers that
oh,
we were
yeah.
talking about is asking me a question, and I just
So
assumed stay
funny.
focused with you right now, and I'll deal with
I
that.
was being ugly, Jeff. Okay.
But so yeah, and so it's just like proactive, and I think that empathy, like when you can really show that you understand somebody as they're sharing with you. But can you imagine how powerful it is to be proactively empathetic?
Yeah.
you know, Coming to them and noticing, be, the awareness, the recognition
Mhm.
of this person, and to express what they're going through, and possibly lend some perspective to lighten the load, or even a possible solution, whether you ever do business with me or not. And
Yeah.
that's another thing. It's like if I'm expressing something new or something that's valuable to my customer, I say, "Listen, I'm going to share something with you. And whether you ever do business with me or not on this particular item, this is something that you should seriously consider. And here's why."
Mhm.
And maybe they do business with me, maybe they don't. But one of my mentors and actually personal friend, Jay Abraham, says, that if you believe what you have is both useful and valuable to your customer or client, he says, but to me, the customer,
Yeah.
you have a moral obligation to serve them in every way possible.
Yeah.
And I haven't just, read that and posted it or whatever. It's the way I live.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been, it's very validating to be able to put words to your own values. Like, I do what I do. Like, why do you do what you do? Well, I just do what I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to say what Ellie's told me, right? I make her problems my problem, not the other way around. Or
Yeah.
Jay Abraham, if what you believe, if what you have you believe is truly useful and valuable to your client, then you have a moral obligation to serve them in every way possible, meaning connect with them. And I think that for me, the strength of what I've been able to do, and honing it down, by the way, so helpful in Thursday Night Boardroom to be able to hone this down, because I could sit there and say, hey, Thursday Night Boardroom is a group of food service professionals and we're all talking about food service stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that wisdom comes from multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
And so if I can explain something to somebody that's not in my business and articulate it in a way that they grasp it, and not only do they understand it, but they can see it. Because when you can see it, you can share it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I've been able to do in Thursday Night Boardroom, is help people articulate things in a way that people not only understand it, but are moved to action, to at least, and that action could be, I'm going to share it, I'm going to buy that from you, or,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, I know somebody that needs to talk to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you've got these 2 degrees of separation. You've got that one for one, and now you've taken this person and made them an evangelist of
Mm-hmm.
your solution. And so that's been super powerful. And Thursday Night Boardroom, I started it, and I got to tell you, if I had $1 for every person that said I should charge for it, I'd have a lot of dollars.
Yeah, you would.
But I've kept it free, and I've kept it free on purpose, and I've kept it invite only on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you that over I guess it's 12 years now, or going on 12 years that I've had Thursday Night Boardroom, I will tell you that has easily represented over $1 million in income to me from a free,
Wow.
and not because I'm like, it's free and then I've got this offer. It's
Yeah.
never been that.
Yeah.
I have a high-end client group with Nick Peterson
Mm-hmm.
and Dan Giulianotti called the Network from
Yeah.
Mastery Mode. And, we had a high-end business that we, at one point, was a 7-figure business that had no website, no funnel, no kind of organized way to enter.
Yeah.
And we still have clients that have been with us for the whole time. But Thursday Night Boardroom, keeping it free, keeping it accessible, but saying, look, you can join, and there's no charge to it, but there's a cost.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's about being vulnerable, coming in and allowing people to ask the hard questions. But being vulnerable, it has to precede by being safe.
Yeah.
You have to be safe in your vulnerability. You have to make people feel safe to share things with you. And that, by the way, has permeated everything in my career, is where if somebody was to say, what is the very foundation of a long-term relationship? And I'm talking whether that's professional, personal, with your spouse, with
Mm-hmm.
your children, with your friends, is safety in your vulnerability.
Yeah.
That they can share their deepest and darkest and know that that's not going anywhere. And I've got stories, and I know things about people that were at a very dark time sometimes in their lives,
Mm-hmm.
and felt safe to share that with me. And I'm honored by that. And I will tell you that is absolutely, I make your problem my problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proactively empathetic. I'm able to articulate your needs, desires, challenges, fears, and aspirations better than you can to yourself. and you're safe in your vulnerability.
Yeah.
And so take that whole thing that needs to, telling somebody's story better than they can to themselves. Can you imagine me walking into a customer that has experienced that with me, and they get this smile on their face like, here comes Jeff. He's going to tell me a story about my favorite subject today, me.
Yeah.
Right? Me. Where am I going next?
Uh-huh.
Because I see them and in this where they are now, but also in a level that's up, that's elevated, but not so elevated that they can't see it in themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's just so fun. It's so fun to have that.
That's key, because if it's too elevated and they can't see it, it just seems insurmountable.
It intimidates them. They get a inferiority complex. I don't want to see him anymore because he believes in me more than I believe in myself.
Right. Yeah.
Like way more than I believe in myself. Mm-hmm. And so, it's just being able to have those vulnerable conversations. But Thursday Night Boardroom has helped me hone down so much. And I know this isn't about Thursday Night Boardroom, but I'm going to tell you the tools and the things that happen within this group, within this culture globally.
Yeah.
That back in the day when you came into Thursday Night Boardroom, when, by the way, we used to only meet in person.
That's what I thought. I was going to say, y'all met in person and whatever.
And it wasn't recorded, never recorded. It's never recorded now anyway.
Yeah.
But we met in person. And I would start off by saying, like, asking 5 questions. And one's a compound question. Aaron Fletcher, a friend of mine that has the Fletcher method, and he's just did that huge launch up with Frank Kern. He said the first one's 2 questions, and it is, who are you and what do you do? Mm-hmm. That's question 1. So it's a compound question. Question number 2 is, who is your customer? And remember, now I just asked that in the singular. Uh-huh. Okay? Because the answer would always start with, or almost always start with, oh, it's anyone who.
Yes.
And I would do like kind of the Rain Man thing, go, uh-oh. They're like, what's the matter? I go, the closest thing to anyone is no one.
No one, yeah.
Who do you have? Who are you intimate with? Like at the beginning of today, which I think is completely appropriate to say hello, everyone, when it is a thing where you and I are on here and there's people that are going to be on here. But if I'm going to post on Thursday Night Boardroom in a video or whatever, I'm not going to say hello, everyone, because there's not a bunch of people on one screen watching me, right? Yeah. I'm going to say hi and speak in the singular, in that first person, or it's second person, I should say, the second person, and speak with the person that way, because you're speaking to one person at a time. It might be 100 or 1,000 or a dozen or whatever, but it's one person at a time. And so if I say hello, everyone, who am I talking to?
Right.
But if I say hello, my friend, like my little buddy Sean Stevenson before he passed away, every one of his posts was like, good morning, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so you're like, I know he's not just talking to me, but he's talking to me. Mm-hmm. When I write to one person, Wild Things Seafood, I did a weekly blog. And I would write about stuff that wouldn't necessarily be about buy my seafood or buy my meat or whatever. But I would write about life things. And people would call me and say, were you writing that to me? And I'm like, yes. No, you weren't. But I was writing to me, but or to a person. And honestly, and this is a real name, by the way, there was our best customer that was a dear friend, old guy, would come in, would be the first guy to come to the Wild Things warehouse sales. And he'd buy this super expensive, long line caught, raw packed tuna that was super expensive, but wonderful, like the best tuna you've ever eaten. And it was like $9 a can, and he'd buy it for his dog, And his name's Irv Trinkle. And Irv was such a fan of mine as a friend that it was easy for me to write to him.
Yeah.
And everybody thought I was writing to them.
Yeah.
And it was just so fun. So that getting there when it's not only proactively empathetic, can you imagine trying to be proactively empathetic to everyone?
Yeah.
It's impossible. And so it's about narrowing it down. So who is your customer was the question, right? Singular.
Yeah.
The third one was, what do you do that makes you unique and stand out above the crowd and above your market? And people would get, like, I give good service. Well, does that make you stand out? What is it, that thing like you and I are talking about? Because customers know when they work with me on making their problem my problem, I am able to actually anticipate their challenges, and articulate it to them in a way that doesn't expect them to do business with me, but can, but helps them become a better person, by the time I leave the conversation. And then the fourth question was, how does your customer brag about you?
Yeah.
And they'd go, oh, he does, really helped me. And he was, like he was, very, had great ideas and did all this stuff. I'm like, nah, people don't brag that way.
Yeah.
They brag in the form of feel, felt, found. You ever heard that term, feel, felt, found?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Understand how you feel? I felt the same way, but what I found was that's how people brag about somebody. An attorney. Oh, I hate all attorneys. And I did blah, blah, blah. Understand how you feel. And I have had my experiences with attorneys as well. But I found this one.
Uh-huh.
It's for the same thing that you're dealing with right now, that not only was super generous with his time, super helpful, but also managed the cost by saying, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? Don't do that. And I said, and all of a sudden you explain that and you're going, well, who the hell's that? That's how people brag about somebody. So when feel, felt, found. And then the last question that really seemed to stump people is, what do you do that makes you the best in the world in the eyes of your customer? And there's people go, well, I'm not sure I'm the best in the world at it. And I go, in the eyes of your customer, if you're not the best in the world in the eyes of your customer, you're just doing the heavy lifting and counting the days before they find somebody that's better than you.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, well, here's what I do. And it sounds a lot like the misanswer of the incorrect way to answer, how does a customer brag about you? But there's a single answer to this. And if you're proactively empathetic, this is the thing that has to happen before, and that is, I am you. And I know where you're going. And I've been there before. I know the obstacles you're facing. And I even know a few shortcuts. But I also know what you're saying to yourself while you're on this journey.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've been there before and I know something else. You're already there. You just don't know it yet. Let me show you the way. And when you can establish that type of bond with the people you're dealing with proactively, you are them. That is what we call value, VALYOU, which is that language of between a business and its client or customer, a leader and their constituency, a parent and their children, friends, whatever. That's where this proactive empathy, this recognition, this articulation, this is where it comes in, to be able to express to them in such a way that they are you. Because think about this, Lisa. Something particularly great or particularly shitty happens to you in the course of a day. And you just got to unload it. Who do you call? It's probably the person that gets you the most.
Right.
The one you don't have to put a whole bunch of context into the beginning of the story. The type of friend that you have that can almost finish your sentences for you type thing. It's, they get me. You get me. Right? And when you have a relationship, business-wise or friendship or any personal relationship, where you can understand and show and articulate your understanding of a person, and that's almost an audible gasp, you get me. Oh my gosh. That's when you become the best in the world in the eyes of your client.
Mhm.
Is to be able to take some time and study. And like Steve Sims said in that post, you don't have to be this super sleuth. Just go where they are.
Mhm.
Watch what they do. Don't see what their lips say. Watch where their feet go. It's just like there's so many people that, and it's unfortunate you and I can see this, right? That you're listening to a person on stage and you happen to know that on stage persona doesn't translate to their real life.
Mhm.
And you really find, it's hard for you to listen to.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think I've rambled on for quite a while here.
No, I love it, Jeff. I love it. And I have to say, I love Thursday Night Boardroom. And I just want to tell the listeners, Jeff is not kidding when he says he talks one-on-one. And it's like you literally talk one-on-one with a person, but all the rest of us get to learn from it.
Yep.
And we can also
and
give
contribute
input.
too. I mean, contribute.
Yeah, we can also give input and contribute if we feel like that, we have something valuable to add. But it really, it almost feels like therapy. But I
Well,
love it. And people do, they open up and talk about things that they normally would not open up and talk about because they trust, even though they don't know everybody in the group, they know if those people are in the group, they can trust them because Jeff trusts them.
People have called it, Alex Sharfin used to call it AA for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Is what he thought Thursday Night Boardroom was. And he was one that really wanted to charge for it. And he was actually brought me into Austin, Texas to go through a business plan on how to do it. And it just didn't feel right to me. He was totally cool with that, but didn't feel right to me. And he was like, it's AA for entrepreneurs. And I'm like, yeah, it can seem that way. But what Thursday Night Boardroom is truly is your own personal board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
A place you can go that you can feel safe and you can express yourself. And by the way, the real secret to Thursday Night Boardroom is the safer you feel, the more vulnerable you can be. The more vulnerable you can be, the better input, the better feedback you're going to get, the better assistance, the better elevation and perspective that you're going to get. It's really is magical that way. And we never hear somebody, the only thing that bothers me in Thursday Night Boardroom is listening to a person tell me from the last time, I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I'm trying to see what I can do. I'm really not interested in taking up the members of Boardroom, taking up their time and their attention with somebody that isn't in the process of taking action. It doesn't have to be massive action.
Yeah.
It can, but I don't want to hear perspective. And this is where you and I can see people that are like this. I don't want to hear perspective from a book.
Mm-hmm.
I can go read that book too. I want to hear real life perspective. I want to hear, how did you crash and burn? I mean, if you go on to Thursday Night Boardroom and on the Facebook group and you read that, hey, congratulations, you've been successful. But the thing that's going to teach us is the times that you were challenged. And, you don't have to make anything up, but you certainly, the more you can share where you've been and the scars that you have and be able to share that with somebody, the better off we all are for that. And so that's really what those and again, that's what I work to establish with every relationship I have. And trust me, I violate it, and from time to time, and with very close people, and not wanting to, but just not really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it's painful.
Yeah. I remember one time recently that you were feeling like that. And I could tell that you were physically hurting because of how you felt.
Yeah.
And without me knowing what it was, I knew I could tell, something about you inside without even knowing what it was.
Yeah. And anybody that heard what it was in detail was immediately like, nobody has to tell me how badly I messed up.
Mhm.
And, and nobody's saying it's okay.
Yeah.
But it's true. And so, but it's one of those things you got to be aware of I've got to be aware of, every day.
Mhm.
And that's something that is a lesson. That's one of those lessons, right? That
Yeah.
you learn for the rest of your life. So,
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you from the angle of sales because so many people are afraid of sales. Um, and I remember when I started my very first business in 1990, and I was like, sales, marketing, oh God, put the
right.
cross like a vampire. My background was accounting. I had no desire, but the first business I started, my husband was retiring from the Navy. We had to have something to do. The city we were in was in a recession. We couldn't sell our house and move. And we had 2 babies. We had a 4-month-old and a 24-month-old. And I sat on the phone for 8 hours a day and did cold calls.
Oh God.
But I knew that what we were offering to do, without anybody telling me, I had figured out. I didn't feel like it was sales because I knew what I was doing, that I had something to help people. So I was literally making cold calls because this was in 1990, and they'd be like, "No, we already have that," and I'd be like, "Well, can I just mail you something, let you know in case you ever want to change?" And 90% of the people would call me back, but I knew that I could help them, and
Right.
it just didn't feel like sales.
No.
So, but now for myself with like my consulting and everything, I have a harder time, quote unquote, selling myself because I don't like to talk about myself. And I know how much I can help people, but it's really hard for me to, like I said, quote unquote, sell myself because I feel awkward. I don't know. I don't like to brag, whatever. And I know that there are a lot of people like me, in the services type. So, what advice would you give for that?
I would change the word from selling to sharing and serving.
Okay.
That's one. The second one, and this is to me, like, of all the sales stuff that I've done. And by the way, I don't go to traditional selling books
Mhm.
to learn sales tactics. If I want to learn how to develop a relationship with a customer, and develop you know, a rapport that has to do with around selling stuff, I'll
Mhm.
read about dating advice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'll read dating advice. Long-term relationship, get the book Stop Your Divorce. Right? That's all about the same relationship, but turn selling into sharing and serving,
Mhm.
right? But the thing that the book that has to do with selling that really, really, really made me an evangelist of these people, and this is one that Nick and I want to interview these people, at least the woman,
Mhm.
is a book called Go for No.
Oh yeah, I know her, Andrea Walls.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She was a
Amazing.
client 20 years ago. About 15 years ago, I developed their online assessment tool before
Oh,
there were all these things, platforms that you could use. Yeah, I'll introduce you if you don't know her.
yeah, no, I met her through Bodie, but I would love Brody, but Bodie, but I definitely would like to do that.
Yeah, she's
I want to
awesome.
interview her. She's fun because I've actually gone out and done Go for No presentations at Cisco,
Uh-huh.
and we talk about the 5 levels of failure, and we talk about those things. But what I also give away, they all have Go for No, just because yes is what you want, but no, yes is the destination, knows how you get there.
Yep.
I literally have a PowerPoint presentation on it, and
Mhm.
then share the book with them. But when I give for people that have really shared and been contributors, I give them what the original Go for No book was. You know what that one is?
Oh, I have it, but I can't remember the name of it.
Green Eggs and Ham by Dr.
Oh,
Seuss.
oh, I thought you meant their other book. Okay, yeah,
No, the one that was, I mean, remember, Sam I Am
yeah.
gets 13 no's before he gets him to try
Uh-huh.
the Green Eggs and Ham.
Yes, that's such a
Oh,
great point.
yeah, and so I have Green Eggs and Ham sitting here in the office.
Oh, funny.
13 no's before that. And so there's just so many great parts of that
Mhm.
that, the whole, hey, this has been a great sales. This guy bought everything I presented to him. And you go, well, what did he say no to? Well, he didn't say no to anything. So you ended the sales call.
Yeah.
I just love that whole Andrea, and it just, they are amazing people.
Yeah, they are.
And so I love that parable style, as you can imagine.
Mhm.
Um, and that to me is selling. But I take away the selling and go to sharing and serving. My wife, I'll tell you a quick story about my wife. She's been a high school counselor. She was at an all boys Catholic school, Servite High School in Anaheim, for 28 years.
Mm.
And about 8 years ago, I was watching Frank Kern and Tony Robbins interview Frank Kern for the new Money Masters series.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh my God. I think I was on like an elliptical or whatever watching it. And I got off and I registered like freehighschoolcounselor.com and all these things. And it's evolved, and it's now called College Prep Roadmap.
Mhm.
And, but she went, and the first client she ever had, she just wanted to help, right?
Yeah.
She wanted to serve. And the
Mhm.
client said, I'm not letting you do this unless you charge me. And so she charged this person like $495, and they paid.
Yeah.
And their daughter, because it was the mom and the daughter, anytime they talk about the college process, the application process, they get in these huge fights.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden it's like they want to avoid being in the fight, so they stop talking about it, which isn't helping anybody.
Mhm.
And so they brought Doreen in, and Doreen helped her, and she ends up, this girl helps this young lady. She gets into every school that she applied to.
Wow.
But Doreen helped her through the process. It's not just about getting in; it's about staying somewhere that you're going to love. And
Right. Yeah.
so we helped her with that, and we said, I came up with the only F's that you want in the college prep process, and it's focus, fit, feel, financial, and future.
Oh, nice.
What are you focusing in on now? How are you studies? What is this? What's the fit? What do you like? Big school? Like, what do you want your Saturday to feel like in the fall? What, big football game, doing all this type of stuff? My 4 kids wanted big.
I did
Oregon,
too.
Alabama, Wisconsin, Penn State is where they all went.
Yeah.
Right. So they wanted big Saturday.
Uh-huh.
They wanted it big. And so, that's fit. Feel. Do you want to have, where do you want to be? Do you want seasons? My daughter from Southern California wanted seasons. That's why she went to Penn State. She
Uh-huh.
wanted to have seasons. So the feel. And then financial. What does it cost to go to these places? What are you ready for as a parent? And then future. What do you want to do with this degree?
Mhm.
Is your degree even there? Or are you wanting to go to that school because it's got a good football team? They might not have your degree. And so that's what we did. But so that person said, okay, now I'm going to host a, a party, or kind of a meeting of parents of juniors. And this is beginning of, I think it was like January of junior year.
Mhm.
Um, and so Doreen's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't like selling. I don't want this. And I was like, give them your roadmap. What
Uh-huh.
are the things that they have to do from January on by semester? What are those things that they have to do? The checklist, give them a checklist. I had her listen to Lisa Sasevich, who's a friend of ours. Actually,
Okay.
Doreen's working with her son right now and with her daughter. So, but Lisa's a friend of mine and a friend of Doreen's, but Doreen didn't know she was at the time. And so I let her listen to Speak to Sell, and she learned that it wasn't about being salesy, it was about serving and sharing.
Yeah.
And so Doreen gave away this entire checklist to all these families, and then had an offer at the end that basically was like, listen, this is a lot, but if you want me to do it for you, I can do it. It's $995. There
Yeah.
was 12 families in the room, 12 families signed up.
Yeah. Because
And
all the time and anguish that's saved, it's worth way more than that.
that was it. And so Doreen, from that point on, was like, this is what I'm going to do. Well, I go and I share that with Lisa Sasevich, and you can look in her books and stuff like that. She talks about Doreen all the time.
That's fun.
And because that was like, this is what it's all about, where you take somebody that's not into sales, but they're sharing and they're serving.
Yeah.
And that was it, right? And it's the irresistible offer and all the fun things like that. And so that's what I would advise. Just understand that it's not selling, it's sharing and serving. But for every no that you get, you're getting closer. Think about Babe Ruth. For every strikeout gets me closer to the next home run. We had 1,335 strikeouts, but he had 714 home runs. That means for every 1.85 strikeouts, he hit a home run. If you could get 1.85 no's, door slammed in your face, for every sale that you make, that slamming of the door is going to seem a lot different.
That's true.
You're going to be like, oh, cool, I've got one more to go and I'm going to make a sale.
Yeah.
It just totally changes it. So that to me makes selling, for anybody that doesn't like selling, but they have the ability to talk and share and express, it takes it all out. All the worry about selling out of the picture.
That's awesome. And I knew that that's what your wife did. And I knew she used to be a counselor, but I didn't know about her journey, about how she ended up with the business. That's really cool. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. I'm really proud of her. I think she's got a great bedside manner. She delivers in a way that's amazing. And yeah. And Laurel Portier, I think you guys know who she is here. She's excited. She's helping Doreen right now. And we're both really excited too.
Yeah.
So.
Laurel was in Dallas.
Yes, she was in Dallas, and it's funny because Laurel looks up to a guy named Vince Reed, who's big in the internet marketing space, and actually Doreen was Vince's counselor at Servite.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So Vince was always like, "I can help you. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do this." It's just like, but she just wasn't ready for it. But now Laurel's around, it makes it really, really easy, and it's the same stuff that Vince was saying to do anyway.
Yeah. Small world, right?
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah.
Well, and I had met you in Thursday Night Boardroom through Brandon, with the because of Success Finder. But then the first time I met you in person was at Dallas, and that was fun.
Yeah, Dallas was great.
Yeah, and I loved how you went to each person. What do you do? Blah blah blah, and then gave people input. And so everybody out there. Jeff is just great. See, I did it again. To the person who's watching, look, now that you have told me that, I'm like, what? And it's funny because I thought, why do I even say hello, everybody? And I literally was thinking about that earlier tonight. And I was like, I really got to think of something to say, but I never think about it. So I always say that. So now I have the challenge of, I got to come up with something that's personal.
Yeah.
But to you person out there, you wonderful person out there, I'm joking. I know that's really crappy, terrible, but yeah, check Jeff out. Tell them where you want them to go to learn more about you, Jeff.
It's real easy. You can go to ThursdayNightBoardroom.com and sign up to be in Thursday Night Boardroom. It's free. And then, or you can, right now we're still developing things that we're going to be doing in Success Finder. And what Success Finder has, the platform, the desktop platform.
Yeah.
It will be exclusively through Success Finder. For now, though, on Facebook, you can go to Thursday Night Boardroom and Facebook, and you have to answer some questions. Tell me where you heard about this. So at least I know who you are. And if you don't answer the questions, you don't get in. I mean, it might be somebody that had answered half the questions, but they said they came in through Lisa, and I would just say, you're in.
Yeah.
and so that's one thing. But and then that's really kind of it. You want to be part of that. If you're in the food business, the restaurant business, then and you're looking for understanding of the markets, what's happening in the supply chain. Um, you can hit me up on LinkedIn at Jeff Moore at LinkedIn, and that's probably the best two ways to do that without getting into a big email,
Yeah.
pummeling.
Well, and I have to say, in Thursday Night Boardroom, you gave us a heads up about the supply chain like
Yeah,
several months before. So I'm watching everything on the news and I'm like, yeah, Jeff told me that. Jeff told me that, and you're like, you were talking about the ships at anchor. And then like 2 months later, they're showing up like, yeah, those ships just been telling me
yeah.
that. So
I wish
anyway,
I
that
wish
was
I wish I wasn't right
no,
on
I
some of
know, I know. Yeah, the actual scenario wasn't cool, but it was
the.
cool that you had this insight and that you knew, you're like, y'all watch out, this is coming.
Well,
So
and I really, for me, I think that's ingrained in me. It's like it's really incomplete at this point, but I have a saying that says, "Learn to teach, teach to know and share with passion."
yeah.
But really, up at front, it's learn to do, right?
Mhm.
And do to know, and so um, and when you teach it to somebody, you actually know it even more deeply.
That's true. Yeah.
But that's to me, I just love sharing. I love stories. Actually, in my second half of life here, I'm 57 years old. My second half of life, I'm when I'm with my kids and with my friends and things, um, I consciously try and share less because
Yeah.
I'm interested in them, and I truly believe the most interesting person in the room is the most interested person in the room.
That's true. Yeah.
And so, but yeah, when I can have an opportunity to share something that I think is useful and valuable, then I certainly will. And I don't share for status. I share
Yeah.
to help, um and even then, I'm after going to Jeff Spencer's thing, I'm writing these new rules about sharing,
Uh-huh.
and it's not going to take away my passion for wanting to help,
Uh-huh.
but it's something that yeah, I'm very discriminating at this point
Mhm.
about wanting to, notwithstanding this last 57 minutes
Yeah,
of
but you don't want to
verbal
spread
diarrhea.
yourself too thin. And so you want to be discerning about who you actually work with or whatever.
You bet,
Yeah.
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 Try not to do the name dropping thing as much.
Yeah.
That type of.
Yeah. Well, I know the names. So, and I just want to say, Jeff, thank you so much for being here tonight. And I'm not saying this to brown nose, but you are one of my favorite people that I've met in the past year. So
Oh goodness. Well, the
I've
feeling
just really
mutual.
enjoyed getting to know you. And I'm 3 years older than you, so you're just a baby.
Well, thank you, and it's been a great time talking to you today, and I know we got on early and we got to chat too, so
Yeah.
this has been a real delight, and I just uh, I hope whatever we talked about tonight is useful and valuable to the person listening.
I'm sure it will be. And I'm going to go back and re listen because there's so many great nuggets that you threw out that I even want to go back and listen myself. So, and I will introduce you to Andrea on LinkedIn
Wonderful,
to see.
wonderful. Please do that.
Thank
That
you.
would be fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time tonight. And I really appreciate it. And I will see everybody else next Tuesday. Thanks.
Awesome. Take
Bye
care.
bye.